My name is Micah,
I'm Diana.
and we have a few things to discuss.
Yes, we do. So we have something very interesting to talk about today, and it kind of stems from your book, The Breaker, which is out now. And I really was just thinking about it, and we were like, what should we talk about? I was like, I think this is actually something a lot of people don't know about that is such a critical tool, not just for our physical health, but our mental health. And so I'm like, this is why I want to just dive into this.
So one of the chapters in the book is called Chicken and Dumbbells. And it's kind of, when I have the opportunity to speak, it's kind of, because it's a heavy story, and then I get to this part and it's kind of there's some comedy in it. Because Chicken and Dumbbells literally were a lifeline for me at the age of 18, but I had no idea, the science behind what was actually going on in my body and how God actually created our body to heal in a way, not only physically of weight loss or muscle building, but even more importantly, what is going on with our mind.
Yes.
I was really struggling with anxiety and depression and all of these things. And so when I say chicken and dumbbells, to me, that means like almost, it was life-saving for me at that point at 18 years old. And so to be able to give that knowledge to other people is absolutely, one of the most joy-filled things that I can do.
Yeah, it's such a cool part of the story because of how you didn't realize why the chicken and dumbbells were doing what they did for you. Before we explain that, explain a little bit deeper of what was going on as far as like it was anxiety, depression, panic attacks. That's what you were experiencing prior to stepping into more of a fitness lifestyle.
Yeah, it was a really rough time, probably the most difficult time of my life. I had gone through all the abuse that I had gone through, and then I'm 15 years old, and this abuse that I was trying to cover, that I was trying to hide, that I wasn't going to share with everyone, started manifesting. And it manifested in extreme anxiety, panic attacks. I had lost a lot of opportunities. I had to have control of all situations, which made it very difficult to go to school. It made it difficult to be in a car with someone else if I wasn't driving. I couldn't be on a bus if I didn't have control. People that deal with panic attacks or anxiety attacks know exactly what I'm talking about. You feel just lost, and you feel so scared at times too, of just going like, I don't have control. What is going on? How do I fix? And then when you have anxiety to that level and panic attacks to that level, depression starts creeping in. Depression leads to really dark thoughts and deep moments. So when I'm 15 to 18 years old, I'm really trying to like navigate what in the world is going on with me. And all I know is I'm going to protect myself as much as I possibly can by having as much control as I can of the situations, but also not tell a soul. And then I get to college, and I have more control in college because I can, I can kind of come and go as I choose my classes and everything else. And I had this deep desire of looking like the guys on covers of magazines, and I wanted to look like Van Damme. He just looked awesome and always got the beautiful woman at the end of the movie and beat the bad guy. And so ultimately, I saw this like lifestyle of these bodybuilder guys. And I was like, what do I have to do? And they're like, eat a lot of chicken and lift a lot of dumbbells. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I get muscle, and then... But within weeks, Dee, and you know this, like I started feeling literally better.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? And I wanted more of it and more of it. Those endorphins and dopamine and serotonin, like all these things are going through my mind. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But like whatever I'm doing, I want it all the time.
Yeah.
Because all I had known for many, many years was living in this shell of a body, of looking in the mirror and not recognizing who in the heck I was.
Yeah.
I was not the person I believe I was created to be. I felt so weak. I felt so fragile, and it gave me strength
Yeah.
and the muscle, that armor that's on the outside, but more importantly, what it was doing to my brain. And that was what I was really like as we've gotten older and understanding the science behind everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Now it's like the Lord knew exactly what he was doing, and exactly he knew how much I would gravitate towards that, and I could use that as a tool to really save my life at that time, and then be able to teach that to thousands of people that we have over the years.
Yeah, it's actually really cool when you dive into it. So you were experiencing the panic attacks, the anxiety, depression, just really rooted in the shame and the hidden things in your story that were, you were buried. This is never coming out. You guys are going to have to read The Breaker if you want to know the full story. So the stuff that you thought was hidden was manifesting in anxiety, depression, and panic attacks. When you started strength training and changing your lifestyle, suddenly it eased up all of these symptoms that were happening with anxiety and depression. And when you read your story, people will understand, like, for you, going a route of trying to do medication or something, that was not an option for you because of things that you had seen. So when this started happening in your body and you started experiencing these differences, it changed everything. Let's explain a little bit now of what we know now, because for years, even until recently, we didn't actually put this together when we were writing the book and started talking to our friends at the Trauma Institute and started diving a little bit deeper into why did chicken and dumbbells help you so much get out of that state? And I'll let you share, what did we find?
So God was just amazing in how he created our bodies. He really created them to heal themselves. And because, I mean, a lot of us, we abuse it in one way or another. And so in our muscles are something called myokines, and science has actually called them hope molecules. And so these molecules, these protein molecules, the only way that they're actually released from the muscle is contraction itself. So every time I'm doing a dumbbell curl, every time I'm doing a squat, every time I'm doing a calf raise, I have these myokines that are coming and forcing out of the muscle, going into the bloodstream. And it's one of the only barriers that can get through the actual barrier of the brain itself to actually combat things like anxiety and depression. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh my goodness, like, that's what was actually happening inside of me.
Yes.
I had heard of things like endorphins and whatnot, but I didn't understand it to that level. And then they did a study recently in Australia with over 126,000 people. And they found that working out, specifically strength training, was 1.5 times more effective than any medication in any counseling to combat anxiety.
Yeah.
Working out, pick up a dumbbell and start lifting and watch what it does to you. Watch how it makes you feel. Combine that with nutrition, and like, you start feeling better. You start actually healing. And not only that, how quickly you start healing.
Yeah.
Right? Because a lot of the medications, and I'm not fully against medications, sometimes people need to take that for a period of time,
Yeah.
and counseling can be very effective.
Yes.
But one thing that we can take full control of right now, right this minute, is we can start working out. And I just want people to understand what that actually does inside the body, not just muscles or losing fat. I'm talking about what it does to your brain, what it does, and how you feel amazing all the time when you're working out.
Yeah, it actually is very fascinating because God put a literal pharmacy in our muscles, and he created systems in our bodies to be able to help us combat the things like anxiety and depression. And like you said, there's some people that are going to need medication, and there's zero shame in that if that's a route that people need, because some people may be so stuck in depression that they need something to get them through a season where they actually can start moving their body. So if they're so stuck in that, like, I never want people to think that there's shame around having to use those tools that are available too. And counseling and therapy, they can be very valuable tools. I would always just say, regardless of if you are using those tools or you're not using those tools, strength training, whether it's right away or later, or at least some type of body movement. Maybe it starts with just getting outside and going for a walk and moving your body. And then gradually, hopefully working towards strength training, because the strength training is really the biggest bang for your buck. But that should be part of a prescription for helping someone with their mental health, with anxiety, depression, in my opinion. That should be a part of any protocol for someone that is struggling with those things. We've seen it, you've seen it firsthand. And not even as something, now it helped you to reverse things, but now it's a part of your lifestyle, and it's a preventative measure, really, is what it is. So when you're doing those things as a part of your lifestyle, it is a great way of being able to keep your body regulated, being able to keep you in a calmer state. So even when stuff comes up throughout the day that is stressful things, when you have that rhythm in your life of the strength training and the eating healthy, because what we also found out is chicken is literally helps in the healing of trauma.
It's science.
It's actually science, because of when you eat things like chicken and turkey, the chemicals that are released, the dopamine, the serotonin that's released in your body, actually helps heal trauma. So what you were doing between the strength training and the eating chicken, lean chicken, not chicken nuggets.
Fried chicken, no fried chicken.
It helps to heal the body and the brain from trauma. Yeah. I was like, whoa, it's science, people. And we've been teaching this stuff at HitchFit for, goodness, like over 16 years now.
We had HitchFit science because we had so much data. We were like, I know this works because we've been with 20,000 people that it worked on.
Well, we've seen it. Yeah. We've seen people change, but then to understand that, oh my goodness, how much the change in their nutrition and switching to foods that actually helped with trauma, the healing of trauma. Yeah. Now, all of that, when you read your book, you'll understand you also did the deeper work. These were tools that moved you through the moment and helped you get to a successful place in life. And then you had to do the deeper work and go into the story of where those triggers and stuff were coming from. So there's still that deeper level, but how cool is it that when our muscle contracts, it's literally pushing antidepressants into our system, into your brain, and that's why you feel so good after a workout. Yeah. And we sometimes joke, it's like, a lot of times people will be like, I don't feel like working out, I'm not motivated to work out, or it's hard to get going. But you never meet somebody, or I've never heard somebody say after a workout, man, I wish I hadn't done that workout. Darn, I wish I hadn't done that. Because it changes your body, it changes your brain. And it's one of the reasons we're so passionate about teaching specifically. I am all about walking and cardio. I love being outdoors, fresh breath, being in nature, but the strength training, in my opinion, is a non-negotiable for not just our physical health, but for our mental health too, and how God literally designed our bodies for that to be a tool to keep us not just physically healthy, but mentally and emotionally healthy too.
And that's the words that I always go to is we have to create non-negotiables in our lives that are helping us advance to a next level and a next phase and a longevity and a fullness of life. And those non-negotiables really start with the choices that we make every single day, right? How are we starting our day? Are we going straight to our phone and then we get into the madness and the chaos of what work is and that loop? Or are we getting into prayer life right when we wake up and then it's like, you know what, I'm going to get some cardio in and start feeling good, or I'm going to start strength training now. And like you said, cardio is great, but what they found with the science is legit contraction of the muscle. So this is weightlifting, strength training. That is essential, because that's connected to also what's called lean muscle mass. Lean muscle mass is connected to fullness and longevity of life. It's one of the most important things. And, guys, we see it in fitness world a lot where guys, we strength train. And then the girls, there's a lot of cardio stuff. Now we're starting to see a shift. There's a lot more women starting to strength train. But I'm also seeing generational things where we start seeing ladies that are a little bit older that are still only doing the cardio pieces. And it's like, and you are a big advocate and a voice in that space going, hey, Like, ladies, we need to strength train. You're going into premenopause, you're going into full menopause.
Yeah.
The number one thing you need to start doing right now, if unless you don't have your faith walk right, is to pick up some dumbbells and start lifting. And I'm not talking those little threes. Pick up some weight and start lifting, and watch those myokines go and increase your overall mental to a level that you can't even comprehend. You're like, man, I am 55 years old and I've never felt better in my life because you made those non-negotiables.
Yes, it's true. And with the women, there's a lot of reasons why you see them doing the cardio, and there's intimidation a lot of times around the weights for women. Walking into a gym can be a scary thing. And a lot of the women I work with, they just work out right at home with some very simple tools. It doesn't take a lot to be able to strength train right in your home. And I think sometimes that's what is a barrier for people is I hear a lot, well, I can't afford a gym membership, or I'm intimidated to go into the gym. I understand those things. To strength train as a part of your lifestyle, for women especially, it doesn't take a lot of space, and it doesn't take a lot of equipment either. If they can just have, usually I like to people to have like a few sets of dumbbells. But even if you didn't have those, there's so much you can do with body weight, with resistance bands. And like you said, we want to encourage people to lift challenging and heavy weights, which is going to be relative to the person. What might feel like, I know women that if they pick up an 8-pound weight, that feels very heavy for them. Whereas for me, like, I don't feel like that's challenging. But if that is what is challenging for them, then that's what they should do until they start to recognize that strength that's being built, and then they can move up to a little bit heavier weight. And I think with the ladies, again, just because I do want to always encourage them, especially ladies, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, any time that you start strength training, whatever age you are, you're going to get benefit. Whenever, regardless of if you've never lifted a weight and you're in your 70s and you're wondering, could I lift weights? Yes, you can. And you can still build muscle, and you can still build strength. And we know that the strength of muscle is tied to longevity and being able to have a longer life too. So you can start at any time. I would encourage men and women to start earlier, because it's kind of like investing. It's making you're putting deposits into a bank account is what you're doing when you're strength training. The younger you start, if you'll stay consistent with it, you're really building up a pretty good sized bank account that you can have as like your
It's your retirement plan.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that to say, it doesn't have to be a big gym that may be scary. I'm also like, the thought around it is, I'm going to go in and people are looking at you or looking at me. They're really actually not. Everybody's that's at the gym is typically there because they're focused on what they're doing for themselves. So it's a lot of maybe doing some story work. Oh, that's what I'm going to need to do. Go into the story with these ladies and understand, uproot some of those fears so that they can start walking into the gym with more confidence and know that it's about them. And each person that's in there is there because they are all trying to improve their own health and wellness.
I have some notes because I don't want to miss anything when it comes to it. But one of the things that I had written down was, myokines, once you understand them, and we've given you a little bit of detail there, a lot of people will start going into the gym for the reason, of, hey, I want to look better. I'm overweight. Mm-hmm. And one of the biggest things, that will happen is you'll see that getting that physique or that aesthetic or fitting in that pair of jeans that you've wanted to for that period of time or looking great on the beach or whatever is really just an added bonus to everything else that you get. Mm-hmm. That may be your initial driver of going, hey, I want to look better. Or maybe you had an aha moment where the doctor was like, you better get it together. We got some diabetes here that we're dealing with or whatnot. But even deeper, I think, than all of that stuff is what ends up happening again to the mental state. What myokines can do and what the working out itself can do is it actually rewires the brain. Mm-hmm. Again, if God created this pharmacy in our bodies and we start taking care of it, God talks about your body as a temple, take care of your body and whatnot, that you will reap reward and benefit when you do. And I think really what he's getting at is like the opportunities that you have, not being in bondage of things that are holding you back, the blessings that God can give you through taking care of your body and that stewardship that comes with making those daily discipline choices. He gives us a spirit of discipline. A lot of people connect discipline to something that is like negative, that's like, oh, that's too rigid or whatnot. What really it means to us, and we talk about this all the time, is like that discipline and that consistency equals what? It equals freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from those things that we know are holding so many people down. And now you know that there's myokines in your body and you're like, it's like a game. It's like a challenge. It's like, I'm going to release those things today. I'm going to feel good. And then you know what? I'm just going to go give back today. I want to go pour into somebody today because I just feel so good. Then you're going to get another layer of extra joy and happiness and that good feel. So just make it a non-negotiable in your life.
Yeah. And then just because we know that there's people that hear that, and it's not as easy for some people to just make that change, make that mindset shift, make the, okay, there's all of these benefits, so I'm going to start doing it. If it's something that like, I want this in my life and I know that I want to do this, I understand, maybe someone's listening, they're like, I really actually want that for my life. What is the resistance? Or maybe they're struggling with the all or nothing. And you go back and forth on that of like, I'm all in. We see this, at the beginning of New Year's, and we see this, at various times in people's lives where they're all in and then it's nothing. All or nothing is a trauma response. And perfectionism is a trauma response. And so all of this tells us not being able to be consistent, like really struggling with consistency, tells us that there's probably something deeper that needs to have a look taken at it. So all of this is so good such good information. And we want people to understand, like, this isn't just about the muscles and, well, I mean, it's kind of about the muscles, but it's not just about that. How our bodies are designed and everything functions and impacts each other. It's so important that we make wise living choices. I believe that like strength training and stewarding our bodies well is a wise living choice. But what happens when we're really struggling to get into that groove? And that's where just understanding that there may be deeper roots and there may be parts of your story that need some tending. We need to go a little bit deeper and see what that is so that someone can move forward into that consistency and into the health that they're looking for.
And to go back just a little bit, I look at my own story and the working out, the nutrition, the discipline, the consistency, all those things were imperative of me getting to a place that was much more balanced.
Yes.
But we still call this place a pain tolerance place.
That's right.
Like, I'm living happy. I have an amazing wife. I have an amazing, a successful businesses. I have all of this, but there's still this part of me that I feel is missing. It's like putting a puzzle together and you get to the end and there's two missing pieces and you're like, you got to be kidding me. Like, I did all this work and like, I'm still missing pieces of the puzzle here. And that all those tools that I was able to use with the working out and the discipline, I was actually able to carry that over into how I really went headfirst into my own healing too.
Yeah.
God was there with me navigating it, and I'm going, Lord, how am I going to get through this? And he's like, just trust me, surrender this to me. And you're going to have to walk through these swamplands for a while. Yeah. And there were times I'd get hit and I'd fall back and I'm like, what in the world? But you know what? I woke up the next day just like I did with all my working out and the bodybuilding all of the years and success in my marriage and my relationships. And I was like, today's a new day. Yeah. And I'm going to continue going forward. We're going to break through this wall. We're going to finally get out of the swamplands of that and get on dry land. And I'm going to get to the top of that mountain. That's what I'm going to do because I want to be free from this. I want to find those missing puzzle pieces to make me complete and be the person that God really created me to be.
Yeah. And one thing that we hear from a lot of people is, I don't have time for this. So that's a real sticking point for a lot of people too. And for me, the switch in my mind that happened, I mean, many years ago, and especially now, I think probably since I hit 40, which was over, I mean, I'm pushing 50 here pretty soon. So that's nearly a decade ago. The switch was, I can't afford not to do this. And that mindset shift is like, with the things that we have to do in life, if you keep saying, I don't have time for my health, and again, understanding that there's probably a deeper story there of why you think that your self-care is not important enough. There's probably something there to take a look at and explore. When did you start thinking that you were not worthy enough or you were not valuable enough to take care of yourself? That's some stuff to look into. But when you make that shift of, no, I literally can't keep up with everything that I want to be able to do in life, whether it's work, children, marriage, the things that God has called you to, the purposes, dreams, desires He put in your life. I literally could not do the things that I believe, I know the Lord has called me to do if I didn't take care of my health and my strength specifically. And so that shift of, I cannot afford to not take care of this thing, because even if it's a day, a couple of days, like there's, you're way more, like, even when we travel, there's days that I won't train for a couple of days. I notice it not just in how my body feels, but I'm more on edge. I respond to things more quickly. I see it in myself. I know exactly what it is. So I know I got to go hit the weights. But to know that that has to be a part of my life if I want to be able to carry the load of everything else and have the strength to do it was such a shift.
Recently, I had a friend, he went out of town, him and his wife, to Mexico, and he sends me a picture, and they're in the gym. And, this may be odd for some people out there, but you actually don't stop living your lifestyle just because you go to another town or another city or you go on vacation. And I was so proud of this guy. We love Brad.
Yeah, Brad's over there flexing.
Yeah, he's flexing.
Brad's flexing.
But really, that's what it's about, because
It was Brad.
Yeah, it's Brad. It was Brad. I love Brad.
It was Brad who we're talking about.
Brad. Yes, he did. He made it on the podcast. But that's really it's about, because he made that non-negotiable time and that choice to go, you know what, let's go work out together. Yeah. Not only did he get to bond with his wife and whatnot, but we know what happens with myokines. Now he's feeling good and everything else, because you're going to have some cheats and you're going to have some food that you may not, typically want to eat when you're at home and do all of that, but you're still starting your day right.
Yes.
You're still starting your day right. And in all honesty, this is going to sound crazy to some people, I don't miss a day ever.
He doesn't.
I mean,
ever.
I'm very rigid when it comes to it, and rigid kind of comes off like a negative thing. To me, I want to always be my absolute best. And for me, I know what that is. And so I love that feeling, and it creates this creative brain for me when I'm in that state of where I'm doing all the stuff that I need to do. I'm close to the Lord where I'm at that time. I get motivated. The only issue is sometimes it's 3 or 4 in the morning. So I know all the rest of my friends are asleep, but I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to write this and then just schedule it so it'll go out at 7 when I know they're awake. But I'm doing it at that particular time. So I just want everyone to feel that way, because most people have no idea what it actually feels like to wake up healthy and fit and not being in bondage of anything. If you want to go hike a mountain, you literally can. Yeah. If you want to go and play with your kids, your grandkids, or climb the stairs or park at the farthest parking spot at the grocery store, because you can.
Yeah.
That is being in true freedom.
Yeah.
And all it requires is making choices that are better than making now.
Yeah. And I will just add to that, it doesn't have to be hours of exercise either. That's another thing with the time thing. It's I don't have time. you can't afford to not make the time, but you also, it doesn't need to be hours to start working on these healthy lifestyle choices. And because sometimes people will say us and they'll be like, oh, well, I don't have the same amount of time as you. Well, that's fine. You don't need the same amount of time as me. This is what the Lord's called me into, and this is what we choose. This is part of our calling. But just because you don't have the same exact schedule as me doesn't mean that you can't carve out that 15 or 20 minutes to move your body. And maybe it starts with 5 or 10 minutes, like wherever you're at, but it's starting with something. And if there is resistance there, this is what I'm saying. Like, so we'll hear it from people, well, I don't have this, I don't have this, you have that. This is your story. This is the story that has a root somewhere in your history where you started to believe these things about yourself. You started to believe, well, I can't have that. I can't do this. I can't. This is your story. And I want people to understand that there is a root to that story that is holding you back from what you're actually capable of. And it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with you. It has to do with something that is deeper, a lie that they have believed and really embraced it as part of lifestyle that is holding them in bondage.
Yeah.
So it's such a great topic. I'm so glad we dove into this. We always get on these things that we could literally sit here and talk about for an hour, but
we got Brad, we got Maggie on one show.
We got Brad on.
I mean, this is
we're having all these special guests.
This is the best ever.
It's amazing. So let's wrap this up. My takeaway is, I'd say mine is that shift of, I don't have time for this, and knowing now what we know about the myokines, and that this is about so much more than our physical health. It is our mental, emotional. We are enmeshed as we are body, mind, and spirit. We are not just one thing. We are body, mind, and spirit. So when we make these wise living choices, which include strength training, it impacts everything. And if there's resistance, where is it coming from? Take a look and get curious.
My big takeaway is just think and just the vision of what it would be like to wake up healthy and strong. And maybe you were there at one point in your life. And so I just encourage you to think about, it's not too late. You're not too old.
Yeah.
Those are ultimately things that you've started to believe. It's now time to take control back. One day at a time, one choice at a time. Just try to make better choices day in, day out. Even small shifts can make a big difference. And once you start getting that momentum going up, you get something called motivation. Motivation is good, but even more importantly, the consistency into the discipline, which will then equal the freedom that you're looking for to be able to be the person that God created you to be.
Awesome. Chicken and dumbbells, people.
Chicken and dumbbells.
It's science.
It's science.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. Please make sure that you subscribe, share this episode with a friend, reach out to us, write to us, let us know your thoughts, where you're at, how we can help. We thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you again on the next episode of A Few Things.